So welcome to the week 1 tutorial 1, and in this tutorial what we are going to do is we're going to look at some of the elements that we need for the weekly challenge. The weekly challenge is continued from the past week on Twitter analysis, but last week I asked you only to understand the code and load data and analyze it, but this week we are going to actually try to answer to do a full um, analysis and understand and answer some basic or important business questions. So that business question, as this is given in your weekly challenge, the title of the weekly challenge is so African influencers Twitter user segmentation, and you will have all this document with you, and there are guidelines on what you need to do and links that you are basically everything that is required to complete the challenge, and the guidelines and assumptions and everything else, plus also key papers and blogs as a reference that you definitely need to look at. So in particular, the key paper, this is a reading assignment that you should be able to read, and in one of the quiz, for example, I may ask some of the concepts from that paper. So you're required to read this at least one key paper per week, and this week's key paper is that one. And then there are key data blogs that kind of gives you where we can fetch data, and then there are blogs, technical blogs, which kind of help you in the coding aspect. So yeah, and tutorial is focused, I mean the whole week is focused on developing or being comfortable with a development environment, and we try to give you all the necessary tools. I mean, there is so much that you have to learn on your own, but at least the very basic, the essential tools you need to have ready for to do some data science. That means making ready your Jupyter notebook, that could be a Google Colab or anything else, like and having a kind of a scripting mechanism. So if you have a Python script, where to run it. So that's a kind of a shell or bash script in this case, because you can just say Python. Python is a script, so you can basically, so the bash terminal in Linux basically gives you one place where you can do all the kind of scripting, and so from there you can go into fall into IPython kernel and anywhere. So it's like that kind of scripting and running codes in a terminal. That would be one thing that you should be comfortable, if not knowing all the commands, but the very essential commands, and then ability also to just keep your code, even if your computer does something, your code is somewhere safe in, let's say, in GitHub, such that in the history things that you changed are stored, so you can at any time go back to some of the, for example, if you make a big mistake, delete your file, you can go back to that file, you can get it because it's stored in a repository. But we will do that by first like helping you also just in this process. I will also go through the kind of starter codes for the challenge that you may need, and so it's kind of, I'm going to put them in Git, and then where you can find them in Git, and how, basically showing you the process, right? So let's start. So here is, for example, where I stored. I will always just in bash, this is a bash terminal. So as last week also we had some quick overview, and this thing you can get it also just if I actually want, I can get it the same terminal using on my Jupyter notebook as terminal, and then it will launch, right? So from here also I can actually do whatever I've been doing. So then I will ask where I am. It's in the user, but I want to go, I know where I need to go. It's in my Google folder, G Drive, and then there is courses, and I know also that it is, what I want is quick start. Okay, so here if I just now pwd, I know that I am there, and I can list some of the files there. So these are where I am developing for the different weeks content, and this week's content is in week 1. So I will go week 1. So I will increase actually the thing so that you can see better. So okay, and now I want to know if this folder is already in Git or not. So I will, so the Git command to use is git remote v. So that would just basically just remote just tells you like you want to see if there is a remote link associated v is just verbose, just show it. So it's just you want to see like if there is a remote URL stored in this one. If it's not a git folder, of course it will tell you no, I don't find it. The folder is not git. But if it's a git, then you will see so it's exactly that. Okay, so this is already in git. So if I just copy that even and go to here and I do that, yeah, I see that it's in my folder, and yeah, so then I am fine. So I will just go back to my thing. Okay, so then I would just add like the usual commands status. Then I will see some of the things that are modified, some of the things that are not added. So for example, these are new files that I needed to add, and these are like some of the things I want to add. So I would like to add so I will just say git status, and then I will add git add. I want to add the PyScraper Py. I want to add as well, just I don't want to add everything, right? So I could just exclude, of course, some of data files, CSVs, and things like that, simply like using the git ignore. So you probably should read about what is, how to ignore files in your git. But in this case, I will just one by one, because the point here is just to show a very basic use. So I am just going to add also in my notebook scripting starter. I want to add it. I don't want to add the file, this one. All these are just data, but yeah, that's it. And then now after this, I added them. So if I do git status again, what do I see? Now I see that, okay, so these are going to be new files, these are going to be modified files. So to add again the modified files, git add, so this u shows you, the kind of tells it, okay, don't add anything, but add all those files that are modified that I'm already tracking. So now, so I don't have to always type git status again. So now these are the modified, and there is nothing added, but these are going to be changed, right? So now the next thing to do is to commit with a message. So I will use message adding new files. Instead of new files, I would say scripting starter files. Okay, so then they are added, and the next thing is git push origin master, right? So now we will see, great, everything is added. So now all of our code is there. So always just good to put your code. And now let's look at the git starter files. So here there are two ways. So this is also kind of scripting. So there are two ways. I'm developing everything in the Jupyter Notebook so that you can see it. But actually for daily to use sometimes, and opening up Jupyter Notebook and running it may take time. And if you put them in a script, it's just simpler. Go to the command line, that's it. You run something. And I like usually, and then most, like to go from development environment to, so it's good. The Jupyter Notebook is very good for development, because you see everything what you do. But once you establish, it's always better to just put it in a script and then run it through some kind of automation process. And that's automation process. Jupyter Notebook is not a great tool for an automation process. So that's why we write and we do develop in Jupyter Notebook, but then we kind of then write it into a script, and then we use kind of an automated process to actually run that script from a shell. So, and I can tell you how to convert, for example, just a cell into a script. So by just writing like this, Jupyter Notebook has called magics, and so one of the magics called write file, And if you just in that cell, if you write file to just some script, it will just write it into basically a Python script. Okay. So, and another thing that so there are these two references that I am following here, and I really greatly recommend you to go there. And so these are the one of the challenge requires that you actually go, and here this company or this article has defined 3 metrics to define what are influencers, and then based on those 3 metrics, then it finds 100 influencers in Africa. And you realize some of them are just not people, some of them are media and stuff. So, but and one of the thing I want is what they don't have a table, but they give you just in headers like the Twitter handles. So my one of the question in the challenge is actually to extract these 100 names such that you can download data for them and you can verify for yourself and also. Okay, so then, and there is another one that I also so the way to do, like, I will come to it, but the way to do it usually is just that if you are using Chrome developer tool and then inspect elements, then could actually give you just the inspect element, and then you can actually then you can inspect this part, for example, inspect, and then you will know which part of what is that part. It's this one, so it goes there and finds it, right? So you can actually then get the for scraping. That's the first requirement. And then we will use, so this is the reading material that I gave you, and we will use also this page that lists so this is that from the Atlantic Council that lists the Twitter handles for all of the African leaders here, like government officials. So that's where also you can go and get the data. And here actually the easiest is if you could actually go in each of these pages and determine like the leaders account by east, south, central, and west. That would help, but it doesn't, you don't need to. There is a starter that I will show you that you will just go and take the handles and the Twitter accounts of also the African governments, such that again you can download the tweets they share and you analyze. Okay, and then here there are some helps, some of the references that will show you how to extract from an HTML this an element that you want. Okay, so this is just in general the case, but one of the yes, I think it's not here probably. One of the reference here would show you how to actually do these things on an isolated environment. It's called Python virtual environment. So if you have a Conda environment, that's called Conda env. So it's just another Python environment. So learn a little bit about that so that you don't interfere with your codes, like just it's an isolated. So for example, here I have many environments like that I have set up for myself for different projects. So that's really something that I know that I will download only a relevant course and for that particular thing. I don't need to download in one case everything. So that's something to learn, but we will come to that. So this is the code, and you will basically just this is a starter code, how to just small functions that would allow you, and then basically just when you understand this and when you give that the Africa, for example, Frick, which is the 100 most influentials, the URL for that, then the get tag elements. So actually this is modified now, so it should be that. So if I run it, then I will just get, okay, so I run everything, I have it already. I will do that, and so the get elements basically just goes and gets the tag. So in this case, I have to specify the tag. I know which tag it is, so tag is equal to URL, sorry, h2. So, and the h2 tag I know because when if I go to the African one, as you can see, this one, if I go and even click inspect, I know this is an h2 tag. So that's why I can refer it through that one. So if I do that now, So I extracted all the tags basically. So this is a list, but you can now convert. So all of the hundreds are now here. Some of them are, of course, just some. There are other, for example, there could be some H2s or headers that are not just what you want. So you have to filter them. But overall, that's it. You have it. Like you have all the handles. So you can now the names and the Twitter handles. So you can basically create your own table, and then you can then follow using the Twitter challenge, which I also shared with you. And here is like the get tweets search thing. So search Twitter, and you can use this one to search and filter and get. So that's the get tweets. So yeah. So this is one way, and then another example is here that I collected also for the other website from the Atlantic Council, which is the African Leaders handle, and that's slightly complicated because they don't give it in a header, but they give it in some other format. So basically, exactly I did that, and I searched for class called WP block embed wrapper. That will give me just basically this, and then I will filter. So as you can see, like these are the handles that I want. So I will extract from this. Just that's the same for all the countries and that I'm interested. Okay, so I think this is a good starter. I know that you have a lot of questions, but we will talk them over Slack, and then everything is now in Git, and and there is also a small comment how to do that in Bash script. So this is just how you can even code Bash. You can write Bash script codes inside Jupyter Notebook. So this is a Bash script. This is not a Python script, but if it's too much, don't worry. But this is just a way to show you that there is also a possibility you can do it from just terminal. Okay, just a Bash script. Okay, with that, I think just I will close this this session, this tutorial. But all questions and everything, we can just discuss them via Slack. Okay.